As the last few years have shown, getting AI adoption wrong can adversely impact the way customers and wider society view your brand. The goal of this lesson is to outline the risks that AI presents around brand and to give you some things to consider and principles to adopt as you roll out AI in your business to help ensure you maximise the opportunities whilst also minimising any negative impacts on your brand, business and future. We'll start by exploring the different ways people, including customers, feel about AI and then look at some examples of how this has impacted people's perceptions of the businesses who've implemented AI. We'll then talk through the steps you can take to reduce the likelihood of any missteps and brand damage. Let's explore how societies and people are reacting to AI. Many people in the world are in the process of trying to understand AI and how it could impact them. How they feel about AI and the future is influenced by their knowledge, mindset, core beliefs, the messages they take from the news, social networks, media, colleagues and friends. People can range from being completely anti any kind of AI anywhere in business and society to firmly believing we should invest all our time and energy in adopting AI everywhere we can. And then there are people everywhere in between. People can also be pro-AI in one area and against it in another, influenced by their beliefs, where they get their livelihood from, and other factors. Add to this that people tend to be interested in AI, and this interest is then used by influencers, sales teams and others to get attention, drive clicks, ads and sales, and it's easy to see how we get to a huge amount of hype, some dystopian messages and commentary designed to get attention more than inform. This amplification of points of view can push people to extremes either way or confuse them. Now let's bring your brand into this. If you're using AI in a way that impacts customers, prospective employees and stakeholders, the way you implement AI could be interpreted in many different ways. If you implement it in a way that supports a narrative that resonates with detractors, you may open yourself up to criticism about bias, stealing people's jobs, breaching copyright, not respecting privacy, not acting in good faith or ethically. If you implement it in a way that supports a narrative that resonates with your promoters, you should get positive promotion through their communication, reports and word of mouth. The chances are you might get both sides of this in some way, especially if you're doing something innovative and new. What's important for your brand here is being clear on your goals, your message, and then steering that narrative in the right direction to keep your customers and prospective customers happy and trusting of your brand. Act in a way that builds trust with AI detractors and supports promoters within your customer groups. Let's look at an example to bring this to life. The software giant Adobe provides tools for the creative industry, and they've been leaders in this sector for decades. Their products like Photoshop, Illustrator and Acrobat help artists and designers create incredible work. Their core customer group are people who create for their livelihood. In around 2022, new generative AI capability and products started to appear that could create images from a text prompt. Some of these tools appear to have been trained on a vast number of publicly available images, some of which had copyright to enable their generation of images. These tools could create images similar to images created by photographers, illustrators, artists and visual designers. This new capability was then made available to anyone who could type a text prompt describing an image. This put a lot of creative roles at risk in the future and also raised a number of copyright and IP issues. Adobe were in a potentially difficult position as there was a lot of commentary and concern in the creative industry about new generative AI image tools. Adobe needed to compete with these new tools, but their core customer groups and therefore their revenue sources were not comfortable with generative AI being used in this way. They took a considered approach to this, and their approach as a result has aligned more with their customers' concerns and needs rather than just short-term revenue gains or the temptation to try to compete quickly with new generative AI tools. To manage this and ensure their customers' needs and concerns were being respected, Adobe took some very considered actions. They trained their AI only on images that had open licenses to ensure they were not training on copyrighted content. They also trained their AI on Adobe stock photos, as well as public domain images. This protected them somewhat from copyright infringement and brand damage, but importantly, they paid stock image contributors for images used in training. Based on this work, Adobe announced Firefly in 2022, a product built on top of their AI platform Sensei. Firefly is a tool that uses generative AI to create new images based on text prompts and to alter pre-existing images. Adobe released this product to help it compete with other generative AI image products like DALL-E and Midjourney. In parallel to this, they also proactively stated why they were implementing generative AI tools and showed how they were doing it in a way that helps their customers, not replacing them. They have a dedicated area on their website that describes their approach and clearly sets out their goal. Here's an excerpt. Generative AI is new technology with a lot of promise, but one that has also caused a lot of uncertainty and concern around the impact it may have on the creative industry. Our view is that AI is a tool for, not a replacement of, human creativity. We believe that generative AI can be developed responsibly, starting with respect for creators' rights. Our generative AI solution, Adobe Firefly, is driven by our roots in the creative community and our respect for creators. The key point here is that Adobe took the time to understand their customers' points of view, needs and concerns, and then aligned their use of generative AI to this. They took the steps to proactively manage the public narrative as they launched Firefly, listening to concerns as they moved forward. It hasn't all been smooth sailing for them either. They have been called out for changing their terms of service and privacy statements, which has led to some negative sentiment. Since Firefly's initial launch, their customers and the wider creative industry continues to watch them closely for any perception of acting against the creative industry's people and their livelihoods. It's a really delicate path for Adobe to tread. They can't not adopt generative AI, but they have to implement it in a way that their customers support. This is a constant process for them as they move forward, and is just one example of making sure you really understand the potential reaction from and the needs of your customers. In another example, back in 2023, a large global fashion brand announced that they would start to use AI to create imagery with AI-generated models. The brand had not expected a public backlash and had not prepared for the significant public criticism that followed. They responded quickly, trying to put the message right, but at this point, the brand damage had been done. Whatever the business drivers of their use of AI were, and no matter how good the technology might have been, the brand missed the mark hugely in terms of how society and their customers would react. In this case, there was a lot of brand damage done and a lot of lost trust from their customers. Even now, almost 18 months later, there is still a lot of negativity about this still circulating. The message here is not don't use AI, but importantly, know how your customers will respond to your use of AI. There are many examples of fashion brands using AI and doing this well with transparency and customer buy-in. The action needed for all business leaders is to ensure you consider your customer reaction to your use of AI. Ensure that what you're doing really does drive benefit for your business in a way that will drive positive impacts for your brand, and customers will be on board. These types of PR crises can be avoided with the appropriate thought, planning, and stakeholder engagement. So what are some of the things you can do to mitigate these challenges and keep AI as a positive change for your brand? When it comes to managing your brand as you develop your own AI opportunities, the guiding principle in all that you do is to make sure that you or the right people in your business know what your customers need, how they think, and how they might react to any of your AI initiatives. There isn't a silver bullet, and as this technology evolves, there will be new opportunities to take that bring new risks. Bringing your customers on the journey with you will help. Think about how Adobe have made their statement clear in how they use AI and how they have tried to address the concerns of their customers and ensure that their needs are considered and met. Factoring in some of the key learnings from other lessons in this course, like aligning your AI use with your values, ensuring you have a policy and plan to ensure AI is used ethically, and ensuring you involve key stakeholders, testing ideas for their feedback and reaction will help you to manage this change in a way that enhances the trust and loyalty your customers have in your brand. And if you do have a misstep, ensuring you own it quickly. Addressing concerns is a really important part of any customer communication plan. AI can be used to drive your customer experience, build your communications, and enhance the way you do your business. You can do all of this in a way that drives your overall brand value and enhances your business value by ensuring you consider the factors we've discussed in this lesson and planning proactively for this.